every Targaryen I get my hands on.
Everyone who isn't us is an enemy.
Sir Ilyn, bring me his head.
We are Ironborn. We take what is ours. The Lannisters send their regards.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back for another Game of Thrones video. I want to start things off by saying I'm not exactly sure what to call this, but you need to know right up front that this isn't really a prediction or theory video. I guess I just wanted to talk about something that I would like to see, although I doubt it ever happens. What I want to talk about is what it would be like to view things through the eyes of the Night King. Whenever we are watching the show or reading the books, everything takes place through the eyes of one of the characters, but I think it would be really interesting if we were able to see some things through the eyes of the Night King or even one of his White Walkers. I was recently watching an episode of Game of Thrones, and I was watching the scene where the White Walker takes Craster's son to the Lands of Always Winter for the Night King to turn into a White Walker. During this scene, we actually get a few quick glimpses through the eyes of the White Walker and the Night King as they are holding the baby. As I was watching this, I started to think about other possibilities that I think could make things a little more intriguing. I think it's safe to say that most of us are wanting to learn more about the White Walkers and the Night King. They were pretty much the very first thing we were introduced to in the books and the show, yet we know very little about them. So far, all we really know is the White Walkers are thousands of years old, from the time preceding the Age of Heroes. They were created to protect the children of the forest from the First Men, who had waged war on them ever since they arrived from Essos. However, the White Walkers eventually broke free of the children's control and became the most feared creatures in Westeros, posing a threat to everything living. 8,000 years before Robert's Rebellion, the longest winter in history fell on the entire world and lasted a whole generation. In the darkness and cold of the long night, the White Walkers descended upon Westeros from the far north, killing everything in their path, and reanimating the dead as whites to serve as their foot soldiers. Eventually, the people of Westeros rallied against them in a conflict known as the War for the Dawn. They were able to beat the White Walkers and drive them back into the Lands of Always Winter. Then, with help from giants and the children of the forest, the wall was raised to prevent their return. The Night's Watch was founded to guard the wall and the realms of men, should the mysterious threat ever rise again. The White Walkers remained a legend for thousands of years, but now they have returned and we don't know why. We do know the Night King and his White Walkers are very powerful. Their arrival is usually accompanied by blizzards and the dropping of temperatures. They can also freeze just about anything they touch. One of the White Walkers was able to freeze Sam's sword to the point that it shattered. White Walkers also have superhuman strength, as one managed to toss Samwell Tarly several feet away after he bitch-slapped him. The White Walkers also carry swords and spears that are made from magical ice crystals. However, one of their most deadly abilities is to reanimate the dead as their servants, known as Whites. They are actually capable of reviving any dead animal as Whites, as a few White Walkers have been seen riding undead horses, and even recently we have seen undead polar bears and now a reanimated dragon. I also believe they have other powers that have yet to be fully revealed, and this is mostly based on how the Night King was created. We finally saw the creation of the Night King, but this still left so many things unanswered. The children of the forest captured a man and tied him to a weirwood tree. Then they shoved dragonglass into his heart, which turned him into the first White Walker, who is now known as the Night King. The only problem is we don't know who this man is, nor do we even know for a fact if he is still the same Night King that we see today. The actor that was tied up to the tree is the same actor who plays the Night King. However, there was that painting in the Cave on Dragonstone that showed the Night King with a beard, so this certainly muddies the water a little bit. Now that the Night King is active again, we need to find out what is motivating him. Is he still seeking out to eliminate mankind, since that was his goal when he was created, or does he have motives of his own? While the White Walkers and their rapidly growing army of zombies have all been a part of a major plot on Game of Thrones since the series began, we're now 7 seasons in, and we still haven't gotten much of an explanation as to why the Night King is waging a war against the people of Westeros. His reason for killing every living thing in his path could be the same as Cersei's. Maybe he just wants to have as much power as he can possibly obtain. But he could also be doing all of this for an entirely different reason that the show hasn't explored yet, which is what I'm hoping happens. As of right now, if we're going to learn more about the Night King, this information will most likely come through Sam and Bran. We know Sam was trying to find answers about the Night King, and before he left the Citadel, he stole several old books from the library, and I would bet they have some information about the others. We also know Bran Stark can look into the past and see pretty much any event in history. Thanks to Bran, we were able to see how the Night King was created. Now that Bran and Sam have teamed up, they will most likely combine their skills to find some more answers about how to stop the Night King from wiping out the entire realm. Lately, I have been thinking, what if we could get some of this exposition from the Night King himself? I fully believe this would be a new fascinating layer they could add in the final season, or at least add in one episode. I know people have always wondered if the White Walkers have some kind of a culture. We know that they are organized to a certain extent, but how organized are they? Do they have their own smith who creates all their weapons and armor? Do they plan out their attacks by placing chess pieces on a large map? Who takes care of all the White Walker babies, or do they immediately grow up into adults after they are turned by the Night King's touch? These are some of the things we will never know unless we can get a glimpse into their day-to-day activities. And this leads me to some of the thoughts I've been having about seeing things from the Night King's point of view. Now, I personally believe the man who was turned into the Night King was a Stark. Not only was he a Stark, but he was also a Greenseer and a Warg, just like Bran Stark. This might be one of the reasons why the children decided to turn this man into their magical ice weapon. The children may have used him because he was a powerful Warg, and they needed someone that could control an entire army because the children were outnumbered. I have always thought that's why their eyes turned blue, just like his. But what makes him an even bigger threat is the possibility of him being a Greenseer. If he wasn't a Greenseer before the children caught him, then they probably made him a Greenseer when they used their magic to turn him into the Night King. Since he was created by the Children of the Forest, it makes sense to me that he would be tapping into the same power source as them and Bran, which is most likely the cause of the Night King being able to interact with Bran inside of the weirwood net. Ever since I saw the Night King reach out and grab Bran inside of a vision, I have been sold on the idea that the Night King is also a Greenseer, and he uses the weirwood tree system just like Bran does. But I think he's even more powerful than Bran because he's had thousands of years to train. Thanks to all of Bran's dreams and visions, we have had many things explained to us this way. We first saw the three-eyed raven in one of Bran's dreams. We were introduced to Jojen Reed in one of Bran's dreams, and we have seen all kinds of things when Bran taps into the weirwood net. Most notably, we saw the birth of Jon Snow, which confirmed his parents were Lyanna and Rhaegar, making Jon the Song of Ice and Fire. Now, just imagine if we were able to see some of the things the Night King sees when he goes into the weirwood net. He has been using this somehow because he was able to set a trap for Bran, which allowed him to gain access into the Three-Eyed Raven's cave to kill him. Now, what if the Night King has been getting visions too? What if this was how the Night King knew when to become active again and prepare to head south? All of us have been wondering what caused the Night King to start attacking again. Did he see something in a vision that motivated him to organize all of his soldiers? Some people think it was the birth of the dragons. Other people think it was the birth of Daenerys Targaryen, or the birth of Jon Snow. The Night King must have been made aware of a major event that motivated him enough to start forming a massive army. Now imagine if Season 8 begins with a cold open, and we see the Night King's entire army. Kinda like how Season 7 started, when we saw the Night King's army moving south. But this time we could see things through the eyes of the Night King, instead of having the camera in front of him. I think it would be amazing if the episode began, and we were inside the Night King's head and looking through his eyes. We could then see the Night King walk up to a weirwood tree that is in the north, and he can place his hand on the weirwood tree and begin to download visions just like Bran does. But now we would finally see what the Night King wants. Imagine if he places his hand on the tree, and we see his entire life flash before his eyes. If the Night King is a Stark, the visions could begin with him being at Winterfell or someplace in the north, and we could see what happens that caused the children to pick him. Does he come from a special bloodline? Was he already a Greenseer, and that's why the children captured him because he already had some power in him? We could learn so much this way, and it would be even more interesting than just getting this information from Bran or Sam. After we see visions of the Night King as a man, then we could get visions of what made him break free from the Children of the Forest. The children created him to be their weapon, but something happened that caused them to lose control. Now imagine if we could see what that was through the Night King's visions. Then we could even find out how Craster was able to make a deal with him. Did Craster find out a way to communicate with the Night King? Is Craster related to the Night King in some way? Since this is the last season, we need answers to some of these long-standing mysteries surrounding the Night King. After we get filled in with some more of his backstory, then we could see him start to get visions of what is causing him to move south at this point in time. Did the Night King know Rhaegar and Lyanna were going to eventually get together and create a baby made up of ice and fire? Did the Night King know Daenerys was going to be born, and she would eventually hatch dragon eggs? Maybe it's all connected to Bran. Is the Night King receiving visions of where Bran is at all times? Perhaps we could see the Night King get a vision, and he sees Bran sitting in his wheelchair at the Heart Tree in Winterfell. Then we would know that's what he's after. If Bran isn't his main target, then maybe it has something to do with Jon and Dany's baby. We know the Night King uses babies as his sacrifices, so maybe Jon and Daenerys are no good to him because they are already grown into adults. All this time, people thought it was the birth of Daenerys, or the birth of Jon, that caused the Night King's powers to awaken. But what if it is actually their child he is after? Jon and Daenerys are special characters in their own right, but when you combine those two, it could create a super baby that the Night King really wants to get his hands on. Now, I know the Night King was active before Jon and Daenerys were born, but he could have received a vision over 50 years ago, which motivated him enough to slowly start building his army again until the right time. It would be really interesting if we could view some of the story through his eyes, because I would love to see what he is seeing when he goes into the Weirwood Net. The Night King may have seen visions of Jon and Daenerys hooking up on the boat, and he could be getting visions now that is telling him Jon and Daenerys are heading to Winterfell. There are honestly so many different possibilities that I would love to explore. We are always seeing things through the eyes of the good guys, but I would like to get a different perspective on all of the events taking place. I doubt they will ever do a scene with the Night King like this, but I just thought it would be a cool way to give us some of the answers to the questions we have all been wondering about. Let me know what you think about them doing something like this. Would you like to take a peek inside the Night King's head, or are you fine with the way things have been going? Either way, I want to thank you all for stopping by and watching today's video. I really appreciate that. I also want to thank everyone on Patreon for continuing to support this channel. I hope you all have a great day. I will see you again very soon. Bye.